The series begins with Hana, a small and cute girl, but life has been cruel to her from the very start. She was born an orphan, raised in hardship, and even when the day came that a family finally adopted her, it turned out to be one of the worst families imaginable, enemies rather than caretakers. Among them was a woman named Kim, a cruel woman who looked like an ogre. Kim constantly humiliated Hana, oppressed her, and forced her to cook, clean, and wash. Hana was still a child, too small to defend herself or speak up. Fear kept her silent, and she endured everything quietly in her heart. At the same time, the story shifts to Safi, a wealthy girl who had everything she could ever dream of. Her mother owned one of the largest companies in Korea and was a highly famous businesswoman. Her father adored her deeply, always giving her whatever she wanted. Safi had no siblings, but she shared her life with her cousin, Sohee, whom she treated like a real sister. Anything Safi didn't use, she would give to Sohee, and the two of them were inseparable. One day, Safi wanted to visit the island, and her father agreed to take her and Sohee along. When she asked her mother Myung to join, her mother refused, saying she had too much work and would join them later. Meanwhile, Hana was at home, as usual, preparing a bottle for her baby brother. Suddenly, Kim's husband called her. She quickly set the baby down next to a cup of boiling milk and went to see what he wanted. Drunk and stumbling, he forced her to sing and dance for him. Terrified he might beat her, Hana obeyed. But as she sang, the baby suddenly screamed. They rushed out and were horrified to find the cup of boiling milk spilled across the baby's hands. Panicked, they took the child to the hospital. Kim blamed Hana completely, humiliating and striking her without mercy. Hana couldn't defend herself. She was an orphan with no one to protect her. If Kim threw her out, she'd have nowhere to go. In that moment, Hana lost all hope of ever being saved from Kim's cruelty. But by chance, a young boy was at the hospital with a camera. He recorded everything and threatened Kim. If she didn't stop abusing Hana, he would hand the video to the police. Terrified, Kim backed off and left. Hana thanked the boy, introduced herself, and asked his name. He told her he was Jun. Curious, she asked why he was in the hospital. Jun revealed he had a heart condition and was scheduled for surgery that very day. He explained that a famous businesswoman had donated a large sum of money to help. As they spoke, his mother called him over to take a photo with the donor, and it turned out to be none other than Yoojin. Jun posed with her, thanked her sincerely, and promised that one day he would repay her kindness. Later, on her way home, Hana saw Kim chasing after her like a raging pig, ready to beat her again. Hana ran and hid behind a car, where, by coincidence, Safi and Sohee were sitting. Safi convinced Sohee to step out and enjoy the seaside until her father returned. At first, Sohee was hesitant, but Safi reassured her, even lending her her favorite hat. They went down to the beach together. Just then, strong winds began to blow, and Sohee's hat flew off. Nervous but determined, Sohee went to retrieve it. Safi, worried, followed her. Meanwhile, their father was at the ticket booth, where he was warned about an approaching storm. But because he had promised Safi this trip, he refused to turn back. At the shore, Safi finally spotted the hat, but as she climbed down some steps to get it, she stumbled and fell, hitting her head. Sohee screamed in shock, panicking. Too frightened to help, she ran around desperately calling for someone, but no one was nearby. At that moment, Safi's father arrived with the car, but he couldn't find either of the girls. Terrified, he searched everywhere until he came across Sohee. He demanded to know where Safi was. Before she could answer, she suddenly saw the ship moving away from the dock. Afraid he might blame her for what happened to Safi, she lied, telling him she didn't know where Safi was, only that Safi had mentioned going to the bathroom. Her uncle told her to wait in the car while he searched for his daughter. He kept looking everywhere, but Safi was gone without a trace. Sohee sat on edge, crying, terrified, and unsure what to do. She felt forced to keep the terrible secret to protect herself from harm. Meanwhile, Safi finally regained consciousness, but to her horror, she found herself on a boat. She burst into tears. The ship's captain heard her crying and came down to check, but she kept weeping, saying she was scared and wanted her father and mother. At that moment, Yoojin returned home with Sohee's mother. She mentioned that she had seen on the news that the weather was going to be very bad. Alarmed, Yoojin called her husband to check on them. She tried to contact Safi's father, asking if they had arrived at the island yet. He grew nervous, not knowing how to answer, because the truth was, Safi was missing. Under pressure, he finally confessed. Safi had disappeared, and he couldn't find her anywhere. Yujin was shocked, unable to believe what she was hearing. At the same time, Kim's husband tracked Hana down, dragged her home, and beat her savagely. When he finished, he threw her out into the snow, where she sat crying in the freezing rain. Yujin, devastated, rushed to the police station where Safi's father was. When she arrived, she realized it wasn't a lie. The police were truly searching for her daughter. Just then, a call came in. A fisherman reported finding a small girl adrift on his boat. Everyone believed it must be Safi, so he, however, panicked with fear. Before the officer could get more details, the line cut off. The storm was too strong. Rescue wasn't possible that night. Back on the boat, the captain tried to comfort Safi, promising he would return her to her family safe and sound. He put a life jacket on her and went to fetch her something to eat. Meanwhile, Yujin was restless and refused to stay home. She decided to wait at the shore, clinging to the hope her daughter would come back. Sohee, however, looked pale and terrified. Her mother took her home, but on the way she found her daughter in tears, completely broken. When she asked what happened, Sohee confessed. Her hat had fallen. Safi went to fetch it, slipped and hit her head, and instead of helping, she ran away. Her mother was stunned. Then she told Sohee never to speak of this to anyone, to keep it between them. "You did nothing wrong," she insisted. "It was just Safi's bad luck." Sohee's mother Myung revealed herself to be just as wicked as Kim. She decided to hide the truth from Yujin, that Safi had fallen onto the boat. Elsewhere, a neighbor found Hana lying unconscious outside. Worried, she rushed her to the hospital. Hana was diagnosed with a severe intestinal infection. Kim even came to the hospital pretending to check on her, secretly terrified someone might expose her abuse and get her arrested. Meanwhile, a police officer found Safi's hat on the wrecked boat. He photographed it and showed it to her family. The moment Yujin saw it, she broke down. It was the very hat she had bought Safi the day before the trip. She was certain it belonged to her daughter. But when she begged to know where Safi was, the officer gave the devastating news. The boat had capsized, the captain had died, and Safi might not have survived. Yujin collapsed in despair. But in truth, Safi was still alive. She woke up on a strange island, with no memory of who she was or how she got there. She wandered aimlessly, lost and confused. Back at Hana's side, the police came to investigate her abuse. They asked her if Kim hurt her. Terrified of the consequences, Hana lied, insisting Kim treated her well. Everyone could see the fear in her eyes and suspected the truth, but they had no evidence, until June appeared with his camera. He had recorded Kim beating her. The police were overjoyed. With this proof, they took Kim away. For the first time, Hana felt safe. Meanwhile, Safi wandered the island until she stumbled upon a quiet house. She went inside, searching for food. When the owners returned, they asked who she was. Her appearance, clean and dressed in fine clothes, convinced them she must be the daughter of an important village chief who had gone missing. They decided to keep her until they figured out what to do. Back with Hana, June played with her, making her laugh, filming her with his camera. She was overjoyed to have met him and thanked him for standing by her side. But Yujin's grief drove her mad. She began to see Sohee as Safi, running to embrace her, which terrified Sohee. Crying in fear, she begged for help, but Myung quickly intervened, calming Yujin down, saying, "Safi is dead. You can't keep frightening Sohee like this." Myung was afraid her daughter might confess the truth and bring disaster upon them all. She urged Yujin to rest in her room so that when Safi returned, she wouldn't see her mother in such a state. Foolishly, Yujin obeyed. Suddenly, news came. Police had found a girl matching Safi's description at a hospital. Yujin's husband rushed there, only to collapse in despair when he realized it wasn't Safi. He cried bitterly, begging them to help him find his daughter, swearing he would give anything in return. When Yujin heard it wasn't Safi, she fainted. As for Hana, she was moved to a new orphanage. Before she left, June gave her his lucky charm, telling her it was the same charm that had helped his heart surgery succeed. He placed it around her neck, wishing it would bring her luck too. At the orphanage, the family who found Safi reported her to the police, and she was taken in as well, still with no memory of who she was. As fate would have it, Safi and Hana arrived at the same place. The moment Safi stepped out of the car, a ball flew toward her. Hana rushed to protect her, taking the hit and bleeding badly. Safi, shocked, thanked her and helped her. From that moment, they decided to become friends. Hana introduced herself, and when she asked Safi's name, Safi admitted she remembered nothing. Hana reassured her gently, saying her memory might return soon, and took her to her secret peaceful spot on a hill to enjoy the beautiful view together. Later, a caretaker at the orphanage called Hana, saying a family wanted to meet her for adoption. They gave her a small gift and asked her to think about it, promising to return if she agreed. Overjoyed, Hana went to share the gift with Safi. When the caretaker asked for Safi's name, Safi said she didn't know. Hana smiled and suggested, "I'll call you Dan, so our names sound alike, Hana and Dan, since we're friends now." Safi loved the name, and from that day on she became Dan. But Sohee was not at peace. Night after night she woke from nightmares of Safi, screaming. Each time, Myung came to silence her, warning, "Say nothing or we'll both be thrown into the streets with nowhere to live." Sohee's mother whispered to her that this was her only chance to get closer to Yoojin and take advantage of her absence. Meanwhile, Yoojin completely lost control. Furious, she stormed at her husband, blaming him for everything. She shouted that he was the reason their daughter was gone, but he fired back, blaming her instead. He told her that if she had stayed with them instead of choosing work, Safi would still be there. He accused her of being selfish, caring only about her company and never about her family. Enraged, Yoojin swore she would not rest until she found her daughter. She left the house, determined to search on her own. She began handing out flyers everywhere, posting Safi's photo across the city, and even promised a reward of 100 million won to anyone who found her. Every day she prayed desperately for her daughter's return. While Yoojin drowned in grief, Safi, now living as Dan, was having the best days of her life with Hana. The two played, laughed, and shared secrets. One day, while playing at the church, Hana noticed a little boy with a missing button on his shirt. She offered to fix it for him and asked what he was doing there. He said he had come with his family. Hana found him adorable and quickly became friends with him. He liked her too, especially after she took him to her secret spot and showed him the beautiful scenery. When she asked his name, he said it was Sue. Suddenly his father called him, and Hana was shocked to discover he was the son of the man who wanted to adopt her. Not only that, his family soon invited her on a trip, buying her many gifts. When she returned, Dan felt uneasy and jealous, afraid that Hana would be taken away by them. But Hana reassured her, "I'll never leave you. Even if they adopt me, we'll still be in touch. We'll write letters and send gifts." She gave Dan some of the presents Sue's father had bought her, and the two promised to remain best friends forever. Before leaving, Hana gave Dan her favorite hat as a gift. Dan was overjoyed, thanking her with all her heart. Meanwhile, Sohee began behaving as if she were Safi. She entered Safi's room, used her belongings, and even turned over her photo frame so she wouldn't have to look at her face. Back with Hana, she quickly became loved by her new foster family. She met everyone, including her little sister Jessie, and learned their mother was expecting another baby. It was everything Hana had dreamed of, a big, warm family. She helped them, and they cared for her deeply. They felt adopting Hana was the best decision they had ever made. But Dan started to feel lonely. The orphanage director told her that an American family had seen her, liked her, and wanted to take her out for dinner. If she felt comfortable, they planned to adopt her. Dan agreed to meet them. Meanwhile, Yoojin fell deeper into despair. The police called her and said they were withdrawing from the search at sea. It had been 2 months with no results. Yoojin screamed at them, offering to pay anything, but the officer refused and hung up. Her world collapsed further when she discovered her husband had left her. He left a message saying he would not return until he found Safi. In one stroke, she had lost both her daughter and her husband. Broken and depressed, Yoojin sank into misery. Sohee took advantage of Yoojin's vulnerability, trying to get closer to her, hoping she would forget about Dan completely. Then fate intervened. Mojin, Sohee's mother, learned that Yoojin had been invited to an important dinner with Jun, the boy who had undergone heart surgery. She decided to attend with Sohee. By coincidence, it was the same restaurant where Dan was meeting her potential new adoptive family. Dan went into the restroom with her new adoptive mother. Mojin was there too. At first, she thought she was imagining things, but then she overheard the woman with Dan saying that they were going to adopt her and take her to America. Terrified her plan might be ruined, Mo-jin did everything in her power to make sure Yoo-jin never saw Dan, neither she nor So-hee, so the truth would never come out. What reassured her most was hearing Dan say she had lost her memories. That meant even if she met Yoo-jin, she wouldn't recognize her. The moment passed without disaster, and Dan left safely with her new family. The next day, Dan visited Hana to say goodbye. She told her she was moving to America but promised to send her photos every day and write letters. They swore nothing would ever separate them, that they would remain friends forever. They even took many pictures together with Sue's camera to keep their memories alive. 10 years passed. Hana grew up, entered school, and excelled in her studies. She also became skilled at playing the piano. So-hee grew up as well, attending the same school, but she became a cruel, bullying person. She tormented everyone around her, and anyone she disliked she expelled from school, using Yoo-jin's influence. She even convinced people that she was Yoo-jin's real daughter. One day, the school held a celebration to honor outstanding students, and Hana was among those recognized. She was scheduled to perform on the piano. Sue's parents bought flowers and happily prepared to attend. Hana was overjoyed, waiting eagerly for them in the hall. But tragedy struck again. On the way, Sue's father received a phone call telling him that his company had gone bankrupt, swallowed by a much larger corporation. Overwhelmed, dizzy, and unable to focus on the road, he lost control. Both he and his wife were killed in a sudden car accident. Back at the school, Hana waited with a smile on her face, unaware of the disaster. When she heard the news, she rushed home to her younger siblings, finding them broken and sobbing. Not long after, debt collectors arrived at the house, seizing everything. They revealed that their father had been buried in debt. Now the children were being thrown into the streets. Everyone blamed Hana, saying if her parents hadn't gone to her award ceremony, they would still be alive. Desperate, Sue begged his father's business partner to spare their house, promising to repay him in full. But the man was selfish and refused. Outside, Sue saw Yoo-jin arriving and was stunned. She was the very woman who had destroyed his father's small company in order to dominate the market. From that moment, Sue swore he would never forget her face and would one day make her regret it. Yoo-jin, cold and uncaring, left him lying on the ground and walked away. By chance, Yoo-jin's estranged husband was nearby. He saw everything but could do nothing. After crushing Sue, Yoo-jin went to the school ceremony where she honored the top students, including So-hee and Jun. So-hee burned with jealousy, hating Jun's closeness to Yoo-jin. She treated him as though he were her own son. Ever since Yoo-jin had paid for his surgery, Jun had never left her side, helping her in everything. Not only that, he had decided to study business management specifically to join her company in the future. Meanwhile, Hana's life grew harder. She was forced to leave school and take on part-time jobs to feed her siblings. Little Jessie, however, grew frustrated with their life, eating nothing but boiled potatoes every day. She cried that this wasn't living and decided to leave the house. Their younger brother shouted at her in anger, telling her she was doing nothing to help. Hurt and angry, Jessie walked away. Sue saw what had happened and was filled with guilt. While he attended school, Hana worked day and night to support him and his siblings. He decided to quit school and start working. But on his very first day, he was beaten, exploited, and given no pay. When Hana saw his condition, she was furious. She begged him to stop, insisting she wanted to carry the burden as repayment for all the kindness his family had shown her. But Sue refused, telling her he no longer wanted any connection with her. "You won't see my face again," he said coldly before leaving. Days turned into months. Hana worked harder than ever, supporting Chung and Jessie. The only comfort in her life came from the letters Dan sent from America. She rejoiced in her friend's happiness, especially when she learned Dan was engaged and about to be married. 10 years passed. Hana had grown into a strong and capable young woman. She had mastered many languages and worked as a skilled tour guide, able to sell anything to tourists with her charm and persuasion. But life was never fair. One day, she received a phone call that shattered her. Safi had died, leaving behind a little boy named Jack. Hana's heart ached, but she made a decision. She would adopt Jack and raise him as her own son, giving him the love she never had. Jack turned out to be a sweet, intelligent child, loved by everyone around him. Yet cruel whispers followed him. Children mocked him for not having a mother. The bullying hurt him deeply, and one day the kindergarten teacher called Hana, urging her to come quickly. But Hana was busy, rushing to the airport to welcome an important group of tourists. She promised she would stop by the kindergarten right after. At the same time, June was driving at high speed, escorting Yujin's important foreign partners. He cut Hana off on the road, nearly colliding with her. Enraged, Hana chased after him, demanding an apology. June brushed her off, apologizing in his own arrogant way, which she misunderstood as an insult. Furious, she kept running after him. June, thinking she was just a crazy woman, ignored her and went on with his work. After he dropped off the guests, Sohee escorted them to board their flight. But Hana suddenly appeared again, running after June, shouting that she wouldn't leave until he apologized properly. Jun told her he already had, but she had misunderstood. Embarrassed, Hana realized her mistake right in front of her group of tourists. Suddenly, Hana froze. She spotted someone among the crowd, someone from her past. Her expression turned tense and unsettled, clearly showing they once shared a connection. Moments later, the police arrived and issued both Hana and June a hefty fine for reckless behavior. Hana was shocked, protesting that she had done nothing wrong, that she was only chasing him because she thought he was a bad man. But the officer ignored her, handed them the ticket, and left. Staring at the massive amount, Hana insisted June should pay since he had caused the incident. June, unbothered, refused, saying no one had forced her to run after him. They nearly broke into another fight until Hana realized her tourists had arrived and she rushed away to meet them. Meanwhile, Yujin received an unexpected call. It was from Richard, a powerful shareholder who owned a massive stake in her company. Though she had never met him in person, he told her he was sending his student to Korea. This student would be the new CEO of her company. Richard asked her to take care of him. Yujin, smiling, replied, "How could you even ask? If he's from your side, I'll treat him like family." But when the man arrived, it was none other than Sue. He had left for America years ago, worked tirelessly, and built his career until he stood alongside one of the biggest tourism moguls in Korea. Now, fate had brought him back, and with it, the perfect chance for revenge against Yujin, the woman who had destroyed his family. At the same time, Sohee's world began to shake. She couldn't stop thinking about Sue's return. She feared he would expose everything and ruin her carefully built life, especially now that she was engaged to June. Her mother noticed her tension and pressed her for answers, but Sohee evaded her questions, keeping the secret of Sue's return. Meanwhile, Hana picked Jack up from kindergarten and returned home, only to discover her sister had stolen all the money from her wallet. Enraged, Hana demanded it back. Jessie promised she would repay her once she got her wages from the hotel. Hana refused to wait, and Jessie, furious, threw the money in her face before storming out. She went straight to her hotel job. Suddenly, she received a call from room 700. The guest inside demanded to see her immediately. She grew tense, and when she arrived, she was shocked to find Suk, her elder brother, there. She asked him when he had returned from America and why he hadn't come home sooner. He told her bluntly that he didn't want anyone to know he'd returned until he had sorted things out, especially when it came to Hana. Hana, meanwhile, had been seeing a young man named Leo. He treated her very well, and she had begun to believe that, finally, everything would be okay, and they would marry. But when Leo's mother, the venomous, ruthless woman, learned Hana was raising a child who was not Leo's, she flew into a rage. She tore into Hana, humiliating her and insisting that marriage would never happen. From that day on, she ordered Leo to stay away from Hana. Hana thought the mother's attack was done behind closed doors, but she was stunned to discover that Leo had seen it all and had remained silent. Realizing this, Hana told him she no longer wanted to continue the relationship. "There's nothing between us from now on," she said, and promised to repay him every penny he had ever spent on her. Leo coldly handed her his number and told her to send the money. Furious, she tore up the bouquet of flowers she had with her, burst into tears, and walked away. Suddenly, she received a call from 2 tourists asking urgently for a translator at a bar. The work was illegal, but she had no choice. The money was necessary. It happened to be the same bar Sohee was going to that night to meet friends. When Hana arrived, the foreigners started harassing and molesting her. Jun saw the scene and a brawl broke out. Hana rushed in to stop the fight and protect her tourists, and in the scuffle she was struck. Jun found her there and demanded, "What are you doing?" She had no good answer, so he accused Hana of ruining Yujin's company's reputation, claiming Hana was meeting disreputable men outside the company in exchange for money, and begged her not to do anything that would blow her cover. She insisted it was Hana's only source of income and that Hana was working to support her siblings. But Sohee didn't care. She threatened to call the police and insisted on her rights, then left with Jun. Sohee used the moment to pressure Jun into leaving Hana alone, since that job was all Hana had. Jun said he would think about it, but insisted Hana apologize immediately. He asked why she worked like that. Hana answered that she needed the money and would never have agreed to this work if she'd known those men were bad. The next day, Hana went to work and was stunned when the manager fired her. He accused her of stealing profits and taking money for herself. She begged forgiveness, explaining she had done it only because of crushing debts, but he refused to listen. He told her never to show up again. Desperate, Hana went to Jun and asked why he had not defended her after promising he would not hurt her. Jun didn't seem to care. He went to ask Sohee if she had been the one to expose Hana. Sohee admitted she had, saying such people deserved punishment and the state should be rid of them. Meanwhile, Suk began to plan his revenge on Yujin. He wanted to bankrupt her and make her pay for what she had done to his family. He decided the first step was to separate Yujin from Jun, her right-hand man. He went to find out who Jun really was, but was stunned when he saw Sue, a girl, in a wedding dress in front of him. Mocking her, he asked, "Who are you going to marry?" She replied calmly, "I'm going to marry Jun." At that moment, Sue was stunned. We learned that he and Sohee had once been romantically involved back when she was in America. For a year they had been deeply in love, but eventually their relationship ended. Now seeing Sohee with Jun filled him with jealousy and bitterness. Sohee noticed his reaction. She quickly pulled him aside and told him she wanted him to stay away from her and never let anyone know they had been together. Just then, Jun arrived. Sohee panicked, but Sue cleverly hid her before Jun could notice. Yet when their eyes met, it was clear Sohee still carried feelings for Sue. As soon as Jun left, she rushed out and called Sue, asking where he was. He told her he was on his way to welcome Prince Hassan and his wife, important guests they needed to treat with the utmost care. He escorted them to the finest halal restaurant. There, by coincidence, Hana was working a part-time job, chopping onions in the kitchen. When she saw Jun, she ran to him asking for help. But he coldly dismissed her, warning that if she caused any problems, she would see his darker side. He even ordered the staff to fire her. Hana was crushed, losing all hope in him, and walked away in tears. Meanwhile, Sue finally came face to face with Yujin. He charmed her with smooth words, promising to expand her company's reach. Flattered, Yujin believed him easily. Back at the restaurant, Prince Hassan suddenly stood up with his wife and left without touching the food. Jun was shocked, asking Sohee what had gone wrong. She insisted she had bought the finest, most expensive meat. Hana, cleaning nearby, overheard and realized the truth. The meat was frozen and not certified halal, which was why the prince refused it. Fearing Hana might expose her, Sohee slapped her across the face. When Jun asked what happened, Sohee lied, blaming Hana, claiming she had swapped the meat on purpose. Jun believed her, but Hana didn't care about defending herself. Instead, she ran after the prince and his wife, apologizing and offering them a proper halal meal at her own expense. Touched, they accepted, and soon they were dining happily together. The prince's translator later tried to thank Hana, but she smiled and said she didn't need a translation. She spoke all the languages herself. Impressed, the translator asked if Hana was free for the next few days, since the royal couple needed a full-time guide. Overjoyed, Hana accepted. At last, a real opportunity had come her way. But happiness never lasted. Out of nowhere, Leo called her, demanding the money he had given her before. He gave her until the end of the week. Hana promised she'd repay him before then, though her bank account was completely empty. Trouble deepened when she received a call from the kindergarten. Jack had gotten into a fight and hurt another child. At the same time, Sue contacted Jessie, asking her to bring Chung to meet him. Chung was shocked to see that Sue had returned from America. He asked why Sue hadn't come home or invited Hana. Sue told them he didn't want Hana to know yet, as he had important things to take care of. He promised to make up for all the lost years. He would give them money, buy them an apartment, and have them live with him. But when Chung asked about Hana, Sue grew angry. He said coldly, "I'll take care of you. Hana doesn't matter. She's nothing." Chung defended her, saying Hana had worked herself to the bone to raise them and deserved respect. Sue, enraged, stormed off. Meanwhile, Hana couldn't leave Jack alone, so she took him with her to the hotel. By chance, June saw her there with the boy and realized something was going on. He froze, unsettled, unsure what to do, because angering Hana might mean losing something important. At the hotel, Hana noticed that they were hiring new tour guides. She thought seriously about applying. Taking Jack by the hand, she left, only to suddenly see Chung and Jessie coming out of the hotel together. Shocked, she asked them what they were doing there and why they were together. Chung grew nervous. He wanted to tell her the truth, but had promised Sue he wouldn't. So he lied, saying they had just gone out for dinner. Later, when they returned home, Jack confronted them, saying he had seen them with Sue and was upset they hadn't told Hana or taken her along. Embarrassed, Chung admitted he had wanted to say something, but Sue was his brother, and he didn't know how to break his promise. Meanwhile, Hana received a call from the prince's wife, asking to go out. Hana gladly took her on a tour around Korea, dressing her in traditional clothing. The day was beautiful, and the princess enjoyed it greatly, but when they returned to the hotel, the princess realized she had lost her golden brooch. Determined to help, Hana promised to search for it. When Sohee noticed her looking around, she asked what she was doing. Hana explained the princess had lost her brooch and she was helping to find it, but Sohee cruelly accused Hana of being a thief. Hurt and humiliated, Hana still searched everywhere. Elsewhere, Yujin called Sohee, telling her that Richard's representative had arrived and asking her to bring June. They came, excited to see who it was. To Sohee's shock, it was Sue, introduced as the new CEO. Panic filled her. She feared he might expose their past, but Sue acted cold and distant, pretending he didn't know her at all. Yujin left them together so they could get acquainted. Jun began asking Sue about his life in America, if he had ever been in a relationship. The moment Jun mentioned it, Sohee tensed up. Jun went on, saying he had heard about a woman who had been madly in love with Sue and was certain she still hadn't gotten over him. Sohee froze, terrified he would reveal the truth. Sue stayed silent, enjoying her discomfort, even congratulating them on their engagement with a sly smile. Later, Sohee rushed home and told her mother that Sue had re-entered her life. Mojin grew furious. She despised him and feared he would ruin everything, especially Sohee's relationship with Jun. She began plotting how to get rid of him once and for all. Back with Hana, she finally found the lost brooch and went to return it to the princess. But before she could, she got a call from Leo's wicked mother. Hana panicked, knowing Jack was home alone. She rushed over, insisting she had already broken up with Leo and wanted nothing from him. His mother, however, demanded repayment of the 100,000 she owed, reminding her of the deadline. Hana pleaded for more time, saying she had promised to repay within a week. But Leo's mother lost her temper and beat Hana mercilessly. Jack, horrified, ran to protect Hana, only to hear the woman blame her for everything, claiming Hana was the reason Leo wasn't married. Jack felt deep guilt, blaming himself for the trouble. When Hana's siblings found out, they were outraged. They vandalized Leo's car, writing insults on it and covering it in garbage. Determined to help Hana, Jack came up with his own plan. He wrote posters offering his services for $5, anything from cleaning pets to polishing shoes or picking up trash, and hung them everywhere, hoping to raise money for Hana's debt. Meanwhile, Hana finally submitted her application for the tour guide job she had seen at the hotel. Hana was thrilled when she got accepted into the company. Her whole family celebrated, helping her pick the perfect outfit for her first day, elegant and polished, so she would look her very best. But the moment she arrived, she ran into June. He scolded her sharply, asking what on earth she was doing there. Hana stood her ground, telling him he couldn't treat her that way anymore, because now she was his colleague and deserved respect. Meanwhile, Sohee checked the applicants' resumes and made a shocking discovery. Hana was Sue's sister, the new CEO. She couldn't understand how Hana was applying like an ordinary candidate instead of being hired directly by her brother. Before the interview even began, Sohee tried to humiliate her, saying, "We know you were fired from your last company." Hana told them the truth, that she had been working in an illegal side job. The panel was ready to reject her immediately, but Hana begged them for one chance. Yujin happened to be present at that interview, and Hana caught her attention. But when Sohee went too far, insulting Hana's dignity, Hana snapped. She stood up and declared, "I don't want this job anymore," before storming out. Jun was furious with Sohee afterward. He reminded her that Hana had long since left that life behind and that she shouldn't have dragged up the past. Sohee, however, pouted and confessed she hated Hana and couldn't imagine working in the same company with her. As Hana left the building, she ran right into Sue. Stunned, she asked when he had returned and who had called him. Sue said he had been back for days but was too busy to meet her. He treated her with cold indifference, though she was happy to see him again after so many years. But he ignored her and walked away. Later, Jun escorted Sohee home. Sohee texted her mother, who warned her that Jun was coming over and reminded her to hide her true status as a servant in their household. Sohee begged her mother to keep quiet, desperate to maintain the illusion of wealth so her marriage to Jun could proceed smoothly. When Hana returned home and told her siblings that Sue was back, she was shocked to learn they already knew and had even had dinner with him. Hurt that they hadn't told her earlier, she felt betrayed. Chung, racked with guilt, confessed to himself that he loved Hana deeply, considering her more than a sister. She was like a mother to him. The next day, at the company, Jun learned the royal couple would sign their contract on one condition: Hana must work there as their official guide. Meanwhile, Sue visited Hana's home, handing her a large sum of money. He told her he wanted his siblings to live with him now and that the money was compensation for the years he had been absent. He promised to continue sending her money regularly. Hana grew angry, rejecting his offer. She shouted that she hadn't raised her siblings for money, but because they were her family. Sue brushed it off, saying coldly, "Whoever wants to come with me can. Whoever doesn't, that's their choice." Jesse eagerly agreed to move in with him, but Chung stayed firm, telling Hana he would never leave her side. Later, Sohee questioned Jun about the prince's condition. When he told her that Hana would be joining the company, she was outraged. Furious at the thought, she returned home sulking, while Jun paid a visit to Hana. At her house, he met little Jack, who was sweet and cheerful. Jun spoke kindly to him until Hana arrived. Suspicious, she asked what he was doing there. Jun explained that he had come back for her because he recognized her talent. He told her the company needed her, without mentioning that the condition had been demanded by the prince. Then he left, leaving Hana secretly happy and hopeful. Excited, Hana began preparing to return to work at the company. On the very same day, a grand ceremony was held to announce Sue as the new CEO. Important figures filled the hall, and Sue promised to expand the company and lead it to greatness. But suddenly, chaos struck. A man armed with a knife rushed in, aiming to kill Jun. Jun jumped in front of her, taking the blow himself. Security swarmed the scene as Jun collapsed. Sohee, terrified, ran to Jun's side to check on him. At that same moment, Hana was arriving to deliver a file. Seeing the scene, she grew anxious, but Jun assured her he was fine. She handed him the file and left. Back in the office, Hana overheard employees speaking badly about her, claiming she had only been hired through connections and gossiping about her past illegal work. Their cruel words cut deeply. Meanwhile, Sue finally came face to face with the man responsible for his family's destruction, the true mastermind behind his parents' deaths. When Hana begged him for mercy, he refused. Sue seized the moment, finally able to take revenge on the man who had ruined his family. None of them recognized him now. To them, he was just another young man among many whose families had been destroyed by Yujin and her company. Meanwhile, Sohee took advantage of Hana working in the same office. She humiliated her constantly, ordering her to run errands, fetch coffee, and even clean her shoes. One day, she handed Hana her expensive heels and told her to polish them. When Jun saw this, he grew furious. He grabbed the shoes from Hana's hands, but in the struggle, the leather tore. Hana froze. The shoes were extremely expensive, far beyond anything she could repair. Jun calmed her, promising that if Sohee complained, he would take the blame and tell her it was his fault. When Hana returned the damaged shoes, Sohee berated her, throwing them to the ground. She sneered that they were worth more than Hana's entire life, and that only German specialists could repair them. The shouting carried down the hall, and Jun summoned Sohee into his office. There, he told her bluntly that he had been the one to damage the shoes, and that if she wanted new ones, he would buy them himself. He ordered her not to cause further drama in the office. Later, Jun offered to drive So-hee home. By coincidence, they ran into Soo on the way. Jun greeted him warmly, but So-hee, as usual, ignored him. Before they could exchange words, Jun received a call. An important delegation had just canceled their reservation at the hotel. He was shocked. The deal had been huge, and no one but him had known about it. Suspicion crept in. Still, he brushed it off for the moment. Soo, however, used the opportunity. He invited So-hee to talk privately. She eagerly dragged Hana along, treating her like a servant once more. Hana stayed silent, enduring the humiliation. She asked Soo why he had been avoiding her, but he gave no answer, allowing So-hee to torment her freely. That evening, Hana received a call from Leo. He demanded to see her immediately. She went, bringing the money she still owed, and begged him to keep his mother away from her family. Leo pretended to apologize, asking to spend some time with her since it might be their last meeting. When Hana refused, he showed her a video of her siblings vandalizing his car, threatening to give it to the police and demand heavy compensation. Terrified, Hana went with him. But Leo tried to take advantage of her, cornering her and harassing her. Horrified, Hana fought him off and tried to escape. Just then, Jun happened to pass by. He saw what was happening, rushed in, and pulled Hana from Leo's grip. Furious, he threatened to drag Leo straight to the police station. Terrified, Leo apologized, swearing he would never approach Hana again. Hana seized the chance, forcing him to delete the video. Before leaving, she warned him coldly, "If I ever see you again, I'll grind your face into the asphalt." But rumors spread quickly in the company. So he seized the moment, spreading gossip about Hana's character, calling her untrustworthy. She humiliated her daily, but Hana endured it in silence. Then, unexpectedly, Hana received a call from Soo. Excited, she thought he was finally reaching out to her, but her joy turned to heartbreak when he told her flatly, "I don't want you working at the hotel anymore." Stunned, Hana asked why. Soo told her the company, the hotel, and even the tourism business would soon collapse. He wasn't going to leave her with anything. Hana thought he was joking, but he looked her in the eye and said he was serious, that he had joined only to destroy everything Yujin had built. When Hana pressed him for a reason, he refused to answer. Broken, she left, thinking about his words all night. Finally, she resolved not to care and to keep going. The next morning, she returned to the company. She offered to make tea or coffee, but Jun quickly interrupted, telling her he needed her urgently to translate for a Chinese delegation arriving at the hotel. But when they checked the bookings, they found everything had been canceled. Once again, So-hee's sabotage. She told Jun coldly, "This is only the beginning." Determined to fix things, Hana set to work. She searched the area tirelessly until she found alternative accommodations for the delegation, then stayed by their side, providing everything they needed. Thanks to her efforts, the disaster was averted. Jun was overjoyed, thanking her warmly. He even invited her to dinner, and slowly the distance between them began to close. As time passed, Hana adapted to her work. Jun began trusting her with more and more responsibilities. One day, on her way to the office, she bumped into Yujin by accident. Not realizing she was the company president, Hana spoke to her kindly and respectfully. Yujin took a liking to her immediately. Hana reminded her of her own daughter, who was the same age. Later, when Hana entered the president's office and realized the woman she had just chatted with was Yujin herself, she was stunned and nervous, afraid she had made a mistake. But instead of scolding her, Yujin praised her warmly. This drove So-hee mad with jealousy. Furious but powerless to act, she could only seethe in silence. To make matters worse, word spread through the company that Hana was Soo's sister. People began treating her with respect, and the bullying stopped. Just then, Hana received another call, this time from Jack's kindergarten teacher. The woman asked her to come immediately. Hana was in a desperate situation, worried, anxious, and unsure whether to leave work. One of her colleagues, noticing her distress, volunteered to cover her duties until she returned. Relieved, she thanked him and rushed to the kindergarten. There, she learned the shocking truth. Jack had been handing out papers to his classmates, offering to do anything for $5, whether polishing shoes, caring for pets, or even picking up trash. Hana was stunned. When she asked him why, Jack broke down in tears. He confessed that he only wanted to help her pay off her debts. Hana's heart shattered. She hugged him tightly, telling him she had already paid everything off and that neither Leo nor his mother would trouble them again. Jack was the only one who truly understood her pain, and even though he was just a child, he had tried his best to stand by her. Deeply moved, Hana gathered all her siblings that evening and made sure they ate together as one family. The next day, when Hana returned to the company, Sohee discovered she had left work the previous evening without permission. Using the chance to humiliate her, Sohee ordered Hana to fetch her purple jacket from home. Wanting to avoid trouble, Hana agreed and went straight away. But when she arrived, she was surprised to find Mojin, the cruel woman, waiting there. Mojin handed Hana an envelope, telling her to use it for transportation. Hana thanked her politely, but when she opened it, she was shocked. It was full of money. The sum was far too large, and Hana immediately thought of returning it. But knowing Mojin's temper, she decided not to risk trouble and simply took the jacket back to Sohee, along with the envelope. She explained that Mojin had given it to her, but that she refused to use such a large sum of money. Sohee said nothing. She simply tossed the envelope into her drawer. Later that day, Sue called Richard to report that their plan was going perfectly. He had already canceled several contracts, costing the company a great deal. Richard was delighted and encouraged him to continue. Back at the office, Sohee suddenly gathered everyone together. She announced that money had been stolen from her drawer and began searching through everyone's bags. At last, she pulled the envelope from Hana's bag and accused her of theft. Hana was shocked. She insisted that the envelope had been given to her by Sohee in the first place, but Sohee ignored her protests and threatened to call the police. Desperate to prove her innocence, Hana rushed to check the security cameras, only to find the footage had been deleted. Frightened and cornered, she began searching for another way to clear her name. Sue, furious when he heard what happened, confronted Sohee, ordering her to stop tormenting Hana. But Sohee screamed back at him, blaming him for starting this war in the first place. "You came to destroy me, so I'll destroy your sister," she hissed before storming off. Hana chased after her, pleading her case. "I know I didn't steal anything. Someone else put that envelope in my bag. The cameras were erased. If the police investigate, they'll find the truth." Sohee panicked. She secretly contacted the technician and ordered him to dispose of the tapes permanently. Meanwhile, Yoojin received a message from the investigators working on Safi's case. They told her they had found a young woman matching her daughter's description and requested a DNA test. Overjoyed, Yoojin shared the news. Mojin asked skeptically what made her so sure, but Yoojin replied with shining eyes, "I saw her smile in my dream. I know it's her." Hearing this, Sohee's nerves tightened further. As for Hana, memories returned of the last time she saw Dana, who had just returned from America with her newborn son. Dana's memories were coming back slowly, and she had been preparing to reunite with her family, but before she could, tragedy struck. Dana died in an accident, leaving only her baby, Jack, behind. Since that day, Hana had vowed to raise him as her own son, no matter the sacrifice. That was why she now felt devastated. After finally finding stability in her job, she feared losing everything because of Sohee's false accusation. At the company, her colleagues had already begun treating her harshly, whispering behind her back and writing insults on her desk. She felt utterly hopeless. But then, unexpectedly, Hana received a video. It showed Sohee herself taking the money from her drawer and placing it in Hana's bag. Hana's heart leapt. At last, she had proof of her innocence. For a moment, she considered posting the video online, exposing Sohee to everyone. But she stopped herself. She knew Sohee was powerful and vindictive. She could snatch the phone, destroy it, and retaliate in ways no one could stop. Instead, Hana chose a different path. She went to Sohee directly, pretending to apologize. She told her she must have mixed up envelopes, that the one she had returned was money for Jack's daycare, not Mojin's money. Realizing that pushing further could expose her, Sohee decided to let the matter drop. She had already achieved her goal, humiliating Hana in front of everyone and forcing her to bow down. Finally free of the ordeal, Hana took what little was left of her paycheck and bought herself some new clothes. When she returned, she was startled to find Jack not at home. Panic set in, until she saw him standing with Yoojin. Terrified, Hana rushed over, but to her surprise, Yoojin greeted her warmly and treated her with respect. She even spoke kindly to Jack, praising him for his good manners. Hana's heart softened. Jack shyly handed Yoojin his ball, and she smiled at him. For a brief moment, it felt as though fate itself was weaving their lives together again. Afterward, Hana and Jack went out shopping together, but her bag was accidentally switched with another woman's. When she went to return it and ask about the owner, she discovered that the woman lived in the building across from theirs. Hana knocked on the door, only for Jun to appear before her. Shocked, she realized he was her neighbor. She quickly apologized for the mix-up, retrieved her bag, and left. At the same time, Yujin received a call from the investigator. He told her that, unfortunately, the DNA samples from all this time had been contaminated, meaning they still couldn't trace her daughter. Yujin collapsed from the news, fainting in despair, her hope completely shattered. Just then, Choi returned from America. He happened to arrive at the house in the very moment Yujin fell ill. He rushed her to the hospital. We then learn it was Choi who had made the call, telling her the DNA was contaminated, deliberately trying to make her give up the search. The moment Jun heard Yujin had been hospitalized, he raced to the hospital to check on her. Meanwhile, Hana received a call from the investigator. He explained that they had found an elderly woman whose DNA was a close match to Jack's, and they were preparing to conduct tests. But before they could collect the sample, the grandmother suddenly passed away. Hana went to the hospital to claim the body and arrange the funeral. As she signed the papers, Jack waited alone in the corridor. By coincidence, Choi was there. He greeted Jack kindly, speaking to him with warmth. Taken by the boy's manners, Choi asked his name. "Jack," the boy replied. When asked about his mother, Jack quietly said, "She died. Now I live with my mom's friend. She's with the doctor inside." When Hana returned, she apologized, thinking Jack might have disturbed the man. But Choi shook his head, telling her Jack was a wonderful child. Later, Hana, Jack, and her siblings cast the ashes of Jack's supposed grandmother into the river and held a funeral, though hardly anyone attended except them. Afterward, Choi decided to dig deeper. He disguised himself with a beard and went to the orphanage where Dana, Safi, had once lived, asking questions. But the director said she knew no one by that name and couldn't help him. Meanwhile, Sohee discovered something shocking. Soo was living in the apartment directly opposite hers, right across the street from where she and Jun were to marry. His presence rattled her nerves constantly, his every word and smirk designed to unnerve her. Jun, upon learning that Jack's grandmother had died, quietly handed Hana an envelope of money and asked her to give it to Jack. Grateful, Hana passed it along, but Jack refused, saying he didn't want it. She explained gently that the money was his, to use whenever he needed it, and promised she would always provide for him. The next day, when Hana dropped Jack off at kindergarten, she received test results. The DNA proved that the woman they had buried was not Jack's grandmother. Relief swept over her. There was still hope. Choi, however, uncovered the truth his own way. He realized he had a grandson named Jack, now living with Dana's friend Hana, who had raised him as her own after Dana's death. Shocked but overjoyed, he connected the dots. Jack was the same boy he had once met and instantly liked. Now it all made sense. Wanting to get close to him, Choi disguised himself again, this time as Santa Claus. He arrived at Jack's kindergarten with gifts for all the children. When Jack's turn came, Choi handed him a present, but as he looked at the boy, he broke down, tears streaming uncontrollably. Jack, puzzled, ran forward and hugged him in front of all his classmates. At the end of the day, the teacher thanked Santa and offered him payment, but Choi refused. He said he wanted nothing in return, that everything he did came from the heart. He left behind a large donation for the children's holiday needs and walked away, but Jack followed him to the door, holding the gift. "I don't like this one," he said. "Can I exchange it?" Surprised, Choi asked what he wanted instead. Jack replied, "I don't want money or toys. I just want Aunt Hana to be happy, and I want to find my grandmother." Choi's heart ached. He longed to grant those wishes, but fear held him back. If anyone discovered Jack was Safi's son, the boy could face danger just as she had. Choi resolved to watch over him from afar. Meanwhile, Jun rewarded Hana for her dedication by taking her out to dinner. They enjoyed a warm evening together, drawing closer than ever. Yujin, however, was still trapped in her own despair. She sent message after message to Choi, begging for a reply, telling him she was close to finding their daughter. But Choi ignored her, unable to face her. Then Jun received a call. Prince Hassan wanted to meet him. He took Hana along. When they arrived, the prince surprised her by thanking her personally, asking how her work at the hotel was going. Hana was stunned. How did he know? The prince revealed that it had been his condition for signing the contract with Jun. Hana must be the official translator. When Hana discovered that she had only been hired because of Prince Hassan's request and not for her own talent, she was deeply hurt. Jun tried to calm her, but she snapped back, asking what she should do now that everyone was whispering behind her back. They could fire her the moment the contract ended. Jun promised her that he would never allow that to happen. He reassured her that she truly was talented, that she wasn't just there because of a contract. He urged her to get in the car so they could talk somewhere quiet. Hana refused, but Jun insisted and practically forced her in. Just as she was about to argue with him again, her phone rang. It was the police station. Jack was there. Panicked, Hana rushed over and was shocked to find not only Jack but also Jun's mother. Jun, confused, asked what had happened. His mother explained that Jack had been hungry, so she had invited him to eat with her. But when she went downstairs to take out the trash, a motorcycle sped by and nearly hit him. The police had reported the incident to the orphanage, and now there was a real risk that Jack might be taken away. Hana broke down in fear, but Jun reassured her that his mother hadn't meant any harm. Still, Hana was terrified of losing Jack. Jun promised her they would protect him. The situation eventually calmed, and even Jun's mother agreed to back down. Hana apologized to the orphanage director, who reluctantly allowed Jack to stay, but warned her that if anything happened again, she would take him away without hesitation. Afterward, Jun drove them all home. For the first time he realized the truth. Jack wasn't Hana's biological son, but the child of her late friend. He was stunned. How could someone be willing to sacrifice so much, working tirelessly, suffering endlessly, for a child who wasn't even her own? His respect for Hana grew even deeper. The next day, Hana wore the elegant outfit Yujin had given her. Jack beamed with pride, telling her she looked beautiful and that the clothes suited her perfectly, but her happiness was short-lived. So he arrived at work wearing the exact same outfit. Enraged, so he decided Hana would never wear it again. All day, so he stalked Hana, until finally she accidentally spilled hot coffee all over her dress, ruining it. Hana was furious, nearly breaking down in tears. Jun noticed and comforted her, promising he would speak to Sohee. But the other employees had already started whispering, spreading rumors that Hana was trying to get Jun's attention, that she dressed like Sohee and copied her behavior to impress him. Later, Sohee tried to humiliate Hana again with another cup of coffee, but this time Hana stood her ground. When Sohee moved to pour it, Hana blocked her and poured her own cup right back. The office froze in shock. From that moment on, Hana decided anyone who disrespected her would get the same in return. Word of the incident reached Sue. Furious, he warned Sohee, "If you lay a hand on Hana again, you'll see a side of me you won't like." Meanwhile, Choi slipped quietly into the company building. When he saw Yujin ahead of him, he quickly hid. From the shadows, he overheard her speaking with her lawyer. She was lamenting that Choi still hadn't responded to her emails. Later, Choi decided to send her a letter. When Yujin received it, she froze. The seal on the envelope confirmed it was from Choi. Trembling, she opened it. Inside was a letter stating that Safi had died years ago, that she would never see her daughter again. But the letter also revealed the existence of her grandson, whom she must now protect. Attached were photographs of Safi with her new family in America, her birth certificate, and DNA analysis. Yujin collapsed, fainting on the spot. Jun arrived just in time and panicked when he saw her unconscious. He called an ambulance, but Yujin refused to go, insisting she wanted to stay at home. Jun carried her back, remaining at her side. When she awoke, she asked if he had seen the papers. He admitted that he had, but swore he would never tell anyone. He had already sealed everything back in the envelope and brought it with him to keep it safe. Grateful, Yujin asked for his help to find her grandson. Jun promised he would do everything she asked, but warned her never to mention this to anyone, not even Sohee. But as Jun stepped out of her room, he was stunned to find his mother standing there in strange clothes. Demanding to know what she was doing, he was shocked when Mojin appeared behind her, explaining smugly that she had come to help. In truth, the two women were conspiring together. Jun's mother had secretly been working as a servant for Mojin, all to secure Jun's marriage to Sohee, while Jun himself remained in the dark. Meanwhile, Jun traveled to the orphanage where Safi, Dana, had once lived. He asked the director about any trace of her. The woman shook her head, saying she knew nothing except that a girl matching his description had been adopted long ago under the name Dana. She had never returned. But before she left, she had drawn a picture with a friend. The staff showed it to Jun. His heart tightened as he read the words beneath it, Hana and Dana, friends forever. At the same time, Yujin desperately tried to learn more about the letter that had caused her collapse. When she asked about it, she was told it was nothing serious, just an empty threat. But deep inside, Yujin felt something was wrong. She had received threats before and had never been shaken by them. This time, however, it felt different. Something about it told her the matter was tied to Safi. Determined, she swore she would find that envelope no matter what. Later, she discovered what had happened at the orphanage. Her daughter's real name had been Dana. She had lived there until she grew up, married, had a child, and eventually traveled to America. Dana had returned to Korea to look for her family, but before she could reach them, she was killed in a car accident when the driver fled. Yujin was devastated, but at the same time relieved to finally know the truth. She begged the orphanage manager not to mention it to anyone, especially not to Sohee. That evening, she wrote to Choi, convinced he was the one who had sent her the letter. "I know it was you who told me about Safi's death. Please, I need to gather what's left of my family. I want to see my grandson. I beg you, if he is near, send him to me. Protecting him is all I care about now." Meanwhile, Jun showed Yujin the picture he had found, and she became certain her daughter Safi had indeed lived in that orphanage. She decided to visit herself, pretending to be a donor. She asked about any children she could support, and specifically inquired about Dana. But the manager denied everything, insisting she knew nothing. The old records had burned years ago. There was no trace left. Defeated, they left the orphanage and returned to the company, where they found Hana still waiting, her face pale with hunger. Jun couldn't bear to see her like that and decided to take her out for dinner. At the same time, he called Sohee and told her their wedding photos had arrived, asking her to go collect them. When she reached the photographer, the pictures were missing. She learned they had been sent directly to Sue. Sohee went to retrieve them, but Sue used the opportunity to lure her inside. He tried to unsettle her, flirting and acting as though he still had a place in her life, though she put on a mask of strength and told him firmly she would never return to him, that she was going to marry Jun and that Sue would lose everything. Her heart betrayed her. Deep down, she still felt something for him. On her way home, the memories of their time in America flooded back. She realized she didn't truly love Jun at all. She was only marrying him out of pressure because he was the heir to the company. If Safi never appeared, he was the only guarantee of her future. Meanwhile, Jun and Hana continued talking over dinner. Their conversation turned to family, and it was warm, sincere, and deep. They discovered how alike they truly were, both kind-hearted, both driven by a desire to help others. Later, Hana took him to her favorite place, a children's amusement park. She explained it was where she released all her stress. She loved to jump, to move, to burn away all the negative energy inside her. As they shared laughter there, Jun's phone buzzed with a message from Sohee. "I'm waiting for you." He replied that he was on his way, but the rain forced him to wait. He offered Hana his jacket, insisting she shouldn't get sick. She thanked him and left. When Jun finally reached Sohee, she immediately asked about the jacket. He lied, claiming it was still in the car. Elsewhere, Choi's heart softened. He finally sent Yujin a picture of her grandson. When the photo loaded on her phone, Yujin gasped in shock. The child was the very same boy she had once seen at the mall with Hana, the boy who had captured her heart at first sight. Her instincts had been right all along. This was no ordinary child. This was her grandson. But then came another chilling message from Choi. "If anyone discovers that this is Safi's son, the heir, they will destroy him just as they destroyed Safi." Terrified, Yujin decided not to tell anyone, not even Sohee. She confided only in Jun, begging him to come with her. "I've found my grandson," she whispered. Jun was stunned. "Who is he?" Her voice trembled. "It's Jack, the boy Hana is raising." Jun froze. The revelation hit him like thunder. Jack, Hana. The drawing he had seen at the orphanage flashed in his mind. Hana and Dana, friends forever. At last, he realized the truth. Hana, the woman beside him all this time, had been Dana's dearest friend, the one entrusted with raising Safi's son. They all decided to go see Jack. Meanwhile, Hana prepared to return Jun's jacket after washing it. At that exact time, Mugam took advantage of Safi's mother not being at home and tried to open the safe, but when she failed, she hired a thief to help her. Inside the house, Jack and Chung were sitting quietly when the landlady suddenly arrived. She announced coldly that they had only 1 week to leave because the house was being sold. Chung grew furious, shouting that she should have at least given them a month's notice, but she didn't care and walked away, leaving them in despair. Later, when Sohee saw Jun's jacket in Hana's hands, she realized Jun had lied the night before. He hadn't left it in his car as he claimed. He had been with Hana. Burning with jealousy, Sohee stormed up to Hana, berating her viciously. "If you don't stay away from my fiancé, you man-stealing tramp, I'll smash your face into the floor." But Hana remained calm. "Take it easy. Jun means nothing to me. We're only work colleagues, nothing more. There are no feelings between us. Maybe you should have a little more confidence in yourself. Besides, anyone who truly treasures their man doesn't need to cling this hard." Her words cut deep. Enraged that Hana dared to answer back, Sohee plotted revenge. She went to Jun's mother, poisoning her ears with lies. "That girl is a homewrecker. She seduces men. That boy with her isn't her friend's son. It's her illegitimate child, born in secret. That's why she hides him." Jun's mother, easily swayed, declared she would never speak to Hana again, nor let her into the house. Meanwhile, Yujin finally got the chance to see her grandson. As Jack kicked his ball outside, her heart longed to run to him, to embrace him, but she held back. Just then, Hana arrived, and Jack quickly told her that the landlady wanted them out. Yujin overheard and wanted to help, but she didn't know how. Choi, too, heard everything and decided to lend a hand. Later, when Yujin, coincidentally, saw them heading to the supermarket, she joined them and used the opportunity to get closer. She invited them all to lunch, explaining, "You're a talented worker, Hana. I admire you a lot." At the table, Jack began acting playfully, making everyone laugh. He asked Yujin if she had any friends. She smiled sadly. "No, I don't." Jack beamed. "Then from today, I'll be your friend." He even fed her with his tiny hand. The gestures shattered Yujin's composure. She excused herself to the bathroom, where she broke down in tears. Everything Jack did reminded her of Safi. Hana followed, trying to comfort her, asking softly if something was wrong. Yujin brushed it off, claiming she was just tired, then thanked Hana. Hana was confused. She didn't understand the reason for such gratitude, but let it go. After lunch, Jack stuck a cute little sticker on Yujin's hand. She went home glowing with happiness, but when Mugim noticed the sticker, she asked about it. Yujin nervously lied, saying she had cut herself and Jack covered it for her. Later that night, she begged Jun to run a DNA test, though in her heart she already knew Jack was her grandson. She only needed proof to rest her soul. Meanwhile, Mugim grew suspicious and asked Sohee to find out from Jun where he had been with Yujin, but Jun was clever and gave her no useful information. Frustrated, Sohee stormed off and went straight to Mugim, warning her, "Hana is getting closer to Jun. Even the director likes her now, buying her gifts and praising her. I'm afraid she'll take him away and ruin everything for us." Yujin, on the other hand, learned that the next day was Hana's late mother's memorial. She sent a huge amount of food and offerings for the family to use. Chung and Jessie were overjoyed by the feast, and even Sue came, for the first time in years. When Sue asked where all this food had come from, they told him the director Yujin had sent it. His face darkened with rage. "How dare she kill my family and now pretend to mourn them? She's the reason they're dead." He exploded in anger, but when Chung asked him why, Sue refused to explain. They assumed he was just trying to spoil their happiness. Furious, they lashed out at him. "We don't want you as a brother anymore. Get out! We never want to see your face again." They kicked him out of the house, sending him back to his small apartment. Jack watched the scene unfold, trembling with fear until he wet himself. Hana quickly reassured him, holding him close. "Any child your age would be terrified seeing that. Don't worry, it's not your fault." Meanwhile, Sue drowned his sorrow in alcohol. Too drunk to make it home, he collapsed in the street. By chance, Sohee passed by and saw him. She dragged him back to his apartment, but when she tried to leave, he clutched her hand, begging her to stay. She tore herself away coldly and walked out. Back at Yujin's, the DNA test results arrived. It confirmed her greatest hope. Jack was indeed her grandson. Overcome with joy, she immediately began plotting how to bring him closer to her. She was even more delighted when Hana sent her a bouquet of flowers to thank her for yesterday's food. When Sohee saw the flowers, she asked who had sent them. Yujin happily replied, "Hana." She's such a kind and lovely girl. So he fumed inside, eaten alive by jealousy. She started scheming ways to get rid of Hana, slandering her to Yujin, accusing her again of raising an illegitimate child. But Yujin ignored the accusations. Instead, she praised Hana and even announced that Hana would be the new supervisor for the upcoming Chinese delegation. Jun later visited Yujin and told her about a conversation with Jack. I asked him what he would do if his grandmother came for him. He said he would never go with anyone unless Hana was there too. He loves her and is completely attached to her, but Yujin brushed it off. I'll find a way to bring both Hana and Jack to me. Don't worry. Meanwhile, Choi went to visit Safi's grave. Standing there, memories rushed back. He remembered how he had first met Sue on a day when Sue nearly got hit by a car, and Choi had saved him. When he opened Sue's bag, he saw newspapers, photos, and documents, all about Yujin. He realized then that Sue was the son of one of Yujin's many victims, whose family business she had stolen, destroying their lives forever. When he spoke to her, she didn't care at all. That's when he decided to walk away, and also decided to secretly help Sue under the name of Richard. That way, he could keep Sue under his watch, make sure he never acted without permission, and at the same time, he could reclaim his rights and teach Yujin a lesson for all her cruelty and injustices. Meanwhile, Jun asked Yujin how she planned to get closer to Hana. She replied that she had an idea. She would lie to Hana, telling her that her daughter was missing. Since Hana knew nothing about her real family and had grown up in an orphanage, she would easily believe it. But Jun disliked the idea. He told Yujin it was wrong to lie like that. If Hana ever found out the truth, she would be devastated. She hadn't done anything to deserve such manipulation. But as always, Yujin cared only about herself. Elsewhere, Mugim's hired thief finally arrived to open the safe, but when they cracked it open, they found nothing inside. Just then, Jian arrived, interrupting everything, and Mugim had no chance to continue her search. Yujin, however, went to visit Safi's grave. There, she was shocked to find dozens of photos, Safi as a child, Safi grown up, Safi with Hana, and even Safi with Jack. Overwhelmed, she broke down in tears. At the same time, Jun asked Hana to talk privately. He gently asked if she knew anything about her mother. Hana sighed. Unfortunately, I was born into an orphanage. I've never known her. When he asked if she dreamed of meeting her, her eyes softened. Of course. I've waited for that day all my life. But it's just a dream. If my mother were alive, she would have searched for me long ago. Clearly, my family abandoned me. At that exact moment, Yujin glanced around and noticed a white flower. Her heart froze. That had been Safi's favorite flower, the same one her father used to bring her. Yujin instantly knew. Choi must have returned from America and was nearby, hiding. She resolved to track him down. When she returned to the office, she found Jun waiting. He offered to help her bring Hana into her life, but insisted she must tell Hana the truth first. Yujin flatly refused. If she knows, she might reject me. Jun was deeply upset. He hated the lies, but he had no choice but to remain silent. Back at Hana's home, she began packing her things. The landlord had ordered them out, but the next day, she received shocking news. Someone had bought the house, allowing them to stay. This person would only occupy one room and was gone most of the time because of work. And who was it? None other than Choi, her grandfather, who had done it to save the home from being sold. Now he could live close to his grandson Jack and finally protect him. Later at work, Jun noticed Hana looked worried. He asked why, and she explained the house had nearly been lost, but a kind stranger bought it and let them stay. Jun was happy for her. But nearby, Mugim overheard their conversation. Seeing Jun talk so kindly with Hana infuriated her. Unable to contain her rage, she slapped Hana across the face in front of everyone, accusing her loudly. "You're a man-stealer! You want to take Jun away from Sohee!" The shouting echoed through the office. Yujin walked in and was horrified to see Mugim striking Hana. Jun snapped, storming over to Sohee. "You can't let your mother behave like this!" But Sohee twisted the situation. "And what about you? Who told you to give her your jacket? Who told you to be so kind to her? You're the reason this is happening. You're pushing me away." She expected Jun to defend her, but instead he glared coldly. "If your mother lays a hand on Hana again, you won't like my reaction." Yujin also humiliated Mugim, dragging her dignity through the mud. "You will apologize to Hana, or you will never step foot in this company again." Instead of apologizing, Mugim mocked Hana further. When she raised her hand again, June caught it firmly. If you touch her again, you'll never come back here. So he tried to smooth things over by throwing money at Hana. Here, take this for your medical treatment. But Hana stood tall. I have dignity. I don't want a single penny from you or your mother. I'll treat myself, and if either of you try to humiliate me again, I'll take legal action. This confrontation convinced Yujin that bringing Hana in as her daughter was the only way to shield her from such cruelty. She pleaded with June to reconsider helping her. News spread quickly through the company. Mugim had slapped Hana. When Sue heard that his sister had been struck, he lost control. He was furious, blaming himself for everything happening to Hana. His blood boiled. That was when Hana, exhausted, finally reached a breaking point. She went to June and told him coldly, I don't want your attention anymore. From now on, don't speak to me outside of work. She turned to leave, but June stopped her. His voice shook. I'm sorry, Hana, but I can't stop caring about you. No matter what, I always will. It's not something I can control. Angry and confused, Hana stormed off. Meanwhile, Sue decided this humiliation could not go unanswered. He told his lawyer to file a formal complaint against Mugim the witch for slapping and injuring his sister. After finishing work, Hana went to pick up Jack from daycare. On the way, she ran into June's mother by coincidence. Hana politely greeted her, but the woman ignored her completely, only greeting Jack, then giving Hana a cold, disdainful look from head to toe, as if she were worthless. Hana didn't let it bother her and carried on. Later, when she got home, she found her siblings Jessie and Chung waiting. They had prepared a special lunch for her, wanting to cheer her up after everything that had happened at the hotel. They couldn't just ignore her pain, they wanted to make her smile again. After the meal, Hana went for a walk in the park. She played around like a child, jumping and skipping to release her stress, whispering that all she truly wished for was a mother. By coincidence, Jun passed by and saw her. He noticed her crying quietly, but chose not to approach, not wanting to embarrass her. He left silently, hiding the fact that he had seen her tears. Meanwhile, the schemer Mugim was at home, frantically searching through Yujin's office for the papers that had caused her collapse, hoping to discover whether Yujin had actually found her daughter. Finding nothing, Mugim guessed the documents must be at the company and decided to go there, but when she arrived, security refused her entry. Shocked, she demanded, "Do you know who I am? I'm the mother of the executive secretary." But the guards coldly replied that she had been banned by order of the director. Furious, she began insulting and shoving them, insisting on her rights, until June himself arrived and warned, "One more word and I'll call the police. Get out." Just then, Mugim got a call from the police informing her that a lawsuit had been filed against her for physically assaulting someone. Terrified, she went to Yujin, begging her to intervene, but Yujin refused. "You brought this on yourself. I told you to apologize publicly to Hana, but you refused. Now you must face the consequences." Mugim was arrested. Desperate, so he went to Sue, begging him to drop the charges if her mother kneeled and apologized in front of everyone. But Sue was unmoved. "This is out of my hands now. It's Hana's decision." At the same time, June went to talk to Hana. She calmly told him it wasn't his concern anymore. What was done was done. He asked again about her family, surprising her with his persistence. Then he informed her that Yujin had arranged a meeting for her at a restaurant. When Hana arrived, she was stunned to see Sohee's mother there, publicly apologizing to her in front of the director and everyone present. For the first time, Hana's dignity was restored and her honor returned. Meanwhile, Chung went to Sue's office at the company. Nervous but sincere, he apologized for raising his hand against him, promising never to do it again. Before running off, he gave Sue an apple as a peace offering. Sue smiled faintly and decided to forgive him. His younger brother had a pure heart. Hana then seized the opportunity. She told them she was willing to accept reconciliation, but only on one condition, that she would no longer work there, nor be tied to their toxic games. Yujin agreed immediately, saying she had planned to remove her anyway. Later, Hana discovered that June's mother had left something at their home. She took it as an excuse to return it, and also a chance to speak directly to her. She gently reminded her to step back from interfering in June's life. "He's getting married soon," Hana said softly. "I'm sure you wouldn't want me to ruin that." By chance, June overheard every word. He was deeply hurt by his mother's cruelty, and frustration boiled inside him. After she left, Jun entered Hana's home. He apologized sincerely, but Hana brushed it off. I'm used to these things. Every mother wants the best for her child. It's only natural. But Jun couldn't bear it any longer. I can't stand watching you suffer like this. I'll help you find your real family. Finally, he decided to follow Yujin's plan, to tell Hana that Yujin was her mother, and with that lie, the drama ended.